Testing, testing. About break even right there. Hmm. Market's being really challenging. I wanted ES to come take the lows down here. Because there is a sell side right there, and it could start running lower from this point, but it's kind of high resistance, and ES swept these internal lows here, and then NQ is struggling to actually close lower, and so on this 1 minute candle, I was watching the 5 second chart, and it came up to this fair value gap on the 5 second chart and then came back down. And then at that point, I went to break even and just demanded that this continue going lower. So I made $3 on that. It's just break even. It got just a tick away from my stop loss here. The midpoint of this wick stopped it. Um, I was gonna go. I want to be leaning bullish for the buy side up here. Um, and I was gonna go long here whenever this down close candle was above it. I was waiting for it to close, but then it closed down with a wick. So when it came back up, I was trying to get in short around this. And then I put the stop up here above the midpoint of that wick, looking for the daily inversion for value gap, uh, this, and then the sell side here. This red line is sell side. Um, and then ES having the liquidity here was what was giving me the conviction for that. But I mean, as you can see, it's still, I would have had to take down, I would have had to take more drawdown on this candle here as well. So I'd rather just demand that it go. And if it's not going to, just get out of it. Because this is high resistance right now. And now ES is unwilling to go lower. And the whole idea was based off ES wanting to go take these lows here. Wanting to be leaning along because it made all this buy side during the pre-market and left highs here. Um, And then last week, it also left the buy side here on the daily and hourly chart right here. So I still want to lean for that. Um, but I'm also trying to account for this daily candle wanting to reach lower first. So there's sell side here, and then there's this discount wick that I'm watching because it might want to come down to that. And the bodies on the daily chart are closing above the midpoint here. So it's like I want to be leaning bullish for the highs here. Hmm. There's no news today, and there's obvious buy side above the market and then obvious sell side below the market, and we're in between the two of them. So it makes sense that the morning session would be like this. See now ES just took the high of day, so now that ES has done that, I wonder if, because the sell side is still down here, I wonder if now it'll come down. It is 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock usually offers a reversal of some sort. It could be a small reversal or a complete reversal of the move that's already been happening, but it hasn't done anything all morning other than go sideways. So not really sure what that means it'll do. Hmm. Just looking at the regular trading hours, I think it would make a lot of sense to come down to these lows. I don't think it needs to come down to here, 'cause that's the midpoint of the inversion. It's already worked that. And there's a sweep here. So I don't think it should go below this low. But these ones, I think that's fine if it wants to tip those and then use this discount wick in the white dashed lines to go higher for the buy side up here. I don't really want to be bearish on the daily chart until these highs are taken. So I wonder if it leaves this high. It just takes these internal highs here and then comes back down for sell side. So I want to see some sort of internal sweep before it starts heading higher. It could take that. Yeah, it could, I mean, it could take that and still do it. If it goes straight up from here, I don't. Maybe if it convinces me it's not going to come back down to here, I could get in somewhere, but it does seem somewhat bullish. It stayed inside of Friday's first presented, never closed outside of it, just reached below it, and then whenever we displaced away from it, it held the midpoint. Um, and it did take sell side here. So I guess it doesn't have to go for those lows um, right away. It could do that later in the week. There's the buy side here. Seems really obvious that if it is going to go lower, I feel like it would make sense to take that first. I missed that. This would have been a good place to get in. Might be able to get in here. That was a really nice run. This. It's interesting that it's sweeping this and it reached up for the inversion and is closing away from it. Bearish SMT on Q. It could just continue pressing higher, and this is just a speed bump. If it's bullish, it'll slow down here a little bit and then just continue. Kind of wish I would have been doing a little less yapping and got in the new week opening gap because I think that was pretty decent for an entry. I was wanting to wait though for the 5 minute to close because the 5 minute at the time was leaving a wick. And I was thinking it'd be nice if the 5 minute closed high and then the next 5 minute bar traded into the prior 5 minute bar's range. And then this happened. So this happened a little earlier than I was wanting it to anyway, because I was waiting for that 5 minute to close. But it ended up closing all the way up here. But it is stopping there. That's really interesting. After taking this buy side, there's sell side below the market. All these little wicks in here, equal lows here. Um, ES still has that sell side down here as well. Because it's Monday and there's really obvious sell side below the market, I want to be open to going short at the beginning of the week. I'm bullish on the week, right? And on the daily, but on at the beginning of the week, uh, I want to potentially expect a retracement first to offer discount. And the sell side is right down there. So I think it does make sense to be leaning short at the beginning of the week. We're trading into a 15-minute breaker up here as well. It's really nice that none of the bodies were even close to closing into that. It's 10:20. Feeling pretty bearish right now. I think this is going to be a fake bull flag. Right now, I'm just trying to figure out, are they going to tip highs first to trap bulls, or is it just going to start going lower? See, if that's just a sweep, what they've done is they've trapped shorts and their stops are up here. So also using the breaker to give me an idea where to put my stop loss. Stayed inside of this, and it swept the low. And now we have equal lows here. I think it'd be nice if it left this low intact, came up, and then stopped out anybody trying to get short early. I think this would have been a decent entry up here. I feel like if it takes this low out, it's just going to accelerate lower. If it leaves it, then I think that's suggesting it'll take internal highs one more time. Okay. I think it's going to go to low of day. This is an order block. It should stay below the midpoint. I don't think this is a sweep. I think it's going to go lower. Will I get filled? That sucks. Came up and just touched the low and then fell. I thought because we were still pretty close to this, we could go to the midpoint. See how quick? Wow. Hmm. I kind of want to cancel this. That's my fill. Interesting. Um, the way it did that is really strange. Makes me feel like it'll come up to here. Like the idea of staying below the order block. Oh gosh, the way it did that is throwing me off a little bit. So it would need to overcome this wick. That's nice. It reached up for this one, which is a reclaimed bearish for value gap. If this closes, okay, closed inside. I wanted it to close below that midpoint at a bare minimum. I was going to say if it closed below this, that's like even better because it reached up and then came all the way back down. I think what this candle is tricking buyers into buying a bullish candle like that. I feel like it's just going to wilt back down to the equal lows. I could be off on my timing. That was just so strange. I don't really know what to make of that massive move lower and then back up. But I like the idea that we tripped buy side here, accumulated, and then fell, and then this order block holding price down. It's very strange the way that that happened. Looking at the 5 second, there's like a bull flag forming here. This candle needs to hold price lower. So on the 5 second, that bull flag just got tripped. So now the sell stops will be down here below the market. want it to go really fast lower here. Just about 10:30. This is what the 5 minute looks like. Yeah, it's just broke highs. Yeah, I don't like how deep it's trading into this, really. This is, I don't understand what this candle is. That's crazy. Uh, that it did that. Needs to get going really fast here, or it's gonna stop out into the rejection block there. That needs to be the absolute highest it goes. This pivot high is forming around 10:30, which is good. Um, it's like decent odds for a pivot high and like a retracement, but seems like it's being reluctant. This big candle coming in kind of threw my whole trade idea off a little bit. That happened extremely fast. My platform lagged when it happened. I don't like it's coming back up into the range like that. Needs to close low. I don't like that. It's unfortunate. Well, I'm gonna get up. I'll be right back. Hopefully when I come back, this is looking a little better. Stop out. Unfortunate. It's being. I'm really annoyed. I love the idea of the short. I'm really annoyed like that this candle came in the way that it did there. Like that kind of threw off my idea a little bit. Um, we're tipping these highs now. Might get back in up here. Again in the inversion for value gap. Baiting a bull flag on the 5-second chart, the breakout of the bull flag. I like the idea. There's equal lows down here now. It's nice. So we'll get rid of that line there. There's a bearish inversion right here that I would like price to stay below. That's a nice run lower. I just moved this to the high of the 15-minute breaker. The midpoint of the breaker is right here. And then the low of it is right there. So just swept internal lows there. I really like the idea of these equal lows. I really do. So what we did leave that one. So kind of my idea right here, I said I'd like it to leave this low intact, sweep this low, and then come up for the buy side generated. That concept did happen. It just did it with this low. So it left an equal low, left it intact, swept this low, generated buy side, and then they went and tipped it. So at this point, I don't really want this to be a bullish fair value gap, like inversion. This is for this morning, wanting to go higher, but because we left the sell side below the market and we swept this liquidity, we're respecting the breaker on the higher time frame, this inversion, and left generated more sell side in here. I like the idea of coming back down. ES has these equal lows down here. Came up and kissed that inversion with this wick. I'm going to get rid of this actually. There's just too much on the chart. Getting rid of that one. That was a key level, this inefficiency from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. range. That's overlapping the midpoint and an octant, and it's a balanced price range because of all of this consolidation inside of it. So that's what I was wanting to see act as inversion to the upside if we displaced, but now that I'm wanting to see lower prices, I want it to just be a reclaimed bearish for value gap. And there's too much on the chart, so I'm just getting rid of it. Right now, I want this inversion to hold price lower. This is the midnight opening price, and we traded above it for accumulation. And it's overlapping this inversion. So I want this to be break of structure, change state delivery, and then head lower. The last trade was a 70-some dollar loss, $75 loss, something like that. So that's what I'm working with drawdown, and hopefully this holds price lower and we get a move back down to the lows. Everyone's bullish. All of retail is probably bullish right now, just looking at the daily chart, right? Looks really strong. But I think we should retrace a little bit at the start of this week for a discount. I think that would make the most sense. I want to give it Monday and Tuesday to potentially do that. And I think this big old candle coming in here, I think that is just generating like bullish sentiment. I really like the equal lows that it left there and here. I think it just makes sense for it to come back down into the range. Let's see, so we got a body closing above the midpoint there, but it did stay inside the high of it. I do really like my entry. It's a rather good entry. Could be waiting for 1050 macro. Plus, this is like a bigger bull flag now. We're in premium of this range, and we took liquidity. So I think this bull flag will fail. My stop is at the high of the breaker on the 15-minute chart. So pretty challenging conditions this morning. Really, the idea of going lower below this low, like my trade idea here, it did work. Just not in the order, just the way that it happened caused me to take a loss on it. had this candle, this down close candle, filled my order, and then this candle came in and like made this move, like if it had happened slower and more like normal, I guess, if this move had happened and then it came all the way back up, I'd be at break even. Like by the time it came all the way back up to here. But because it did that with the wick so quickly, I even said I considered canceling my order before it filled. I just didn't do it. Because it did it like that, like I just didn't really know how to react. I didn't know whether or not to stick with the idea or to cancel it because it shouldn't do that. I just didn't really know what to do. So that's just unfortunate. Um, a 15-minute candle just opened. It's immediately coming back up into this area of accumulation. So right now, this is a $67 risk with the stop loss. I'm measuring on my other monitor, signed into a paper account. I'm like placing a paper trade order over top my entry and my stop loss to like measure my risk and everything. And I wanted to, so $78 profit is right where my horizontal line is resting. That would be break even on the day. That would take care of my loss. $100 profit would be at 38 and a quarter. So right below these equal lows with this wick and that wick would be $100 profit. So if I can get my stop to anywhere in here, that would mitigate my loss plus a little extra. So that's kind of my goal for right now. So 38 and a quarter. That is my initial goal, I guess, or target. I'd like to be able to get my stop loss right there because that would mitigate my loss plus a little extra. Just about 1050 macro. Hopefully it sends price lower. Immediate rebalance in the hourly is where my horizontal line is resting as well. I feel like they're gonna run it very abruptly, with little time to react. if it closes below the midpoint of this candle, I think it would be cool to see if it closes below that midpoint there, that immediately after that, it start accelerating lower because we have all these stacked wicks in here. And if it is going to take out this one, I'd like it to accelerate to the next ones. Okay, so it just happened there, and we're in macro. So I think that'd be cool to see it kind of start a chain reaction lower to take all these lows. And then, of course, we'd have to challenge this wick here. There you go. That's cool. That's good enough. That's pretty much exactly what I wanted to see. That's really cool that that happened. I called it right before it happened. So we need to overcome the new week opening gap and this wicks midpoint. Nice. Body close below both those levels. That's really good. I want this to be a breakaway gap. I really want it to get really, really heavy in here. Nice. Cool. And then this wick is an inefficiency. So because the way that this happens, I think it'll want to overlap that, and there's equal lows down here. I really like that it's doing this. The more red candles like that, the better. I want this to be a breakaway, so it leave a portion of this gap open. I suppose I should go to break even. I wasn't even thinking about like risk mitigation, but I should probably go to break even now that this low has been taken out. And if I want this to be a breakaway gap, that means it should not come back up here. So far so good. Um, cool. Tempting to tighten my stop to right there, because that would take care of my loss and everything, but it could reach up here. So I just want to be patient. I think once this low gets taken, I will do that. Because that's a nice place to take a partial profit if you had more than one contract. Okay, there you go. So I'm going to tighten this to right there. All right, so that loss has been taken care of from earlier, and plus a little extra. So now I can sit back and just be comfortable, and it could give me a lot more. So we'll see if that happens. This is a really interesting level. This is an inversion for value gap. Really interesting here. This could send price higher. If it like breaks through this to the downside, I feel really confident in these lows. Because I feel like this should be a very formidable PD array. So I'm gonna label it bullish for value gap, bullish inversion for value gap, because if it were bullish, it should stop here. So if I see it close below that, that would make me feel really confident in seeing the lows taken. And then ultimately that sell side there. Let's see, so $200 profit is just about at 789. So I'm going to annotate that as well. right about there. Because that would be a good secondary kind of take profit, or I guess kind of, there we go. Um, that's a nice secondary place to tighten the stop to if we start getting some more movement lower. Let's see. I feel like it could come up to this, but I also think it could reject off of this inefficiency here and just really run quick. We are respecting this, so we'll see. I like the idea of trying to let it run to that sell side below the market, giving it an opportunity to do that. But there's no stress anymore, like nothing, because my loss is mitigated from earlier, and ES has these equal lows. It feels really confident. I'm in at high a day. I mean, great, amazing entry. This is looking really good. I don't want to see wicks like that. I don't want to see wicks like that. Just about 11 o'clock. I want to see it get real heavy here. Just start going really fast. It could come up and tip this wicks high. I like that we stayed below the new day opening gap. We wicked up and then we're closing below the low of that. That's really good. It's a nice signature. If this is going to be a low resistance liquidity run lower, I feel like my stop loss should be safe, like it should be. If it's going to continue this kind of high resistance that it was doing earlier, then it could be in jeopardy. But I feel like I'm just positioned really nicely right now that I don't really need to worry about what it does. Once it starts heading lower, okay, so there's a body up below that midpoint. That's nice. But once it starts heading lower, then there will be like a little bit of stress just trying to decide how to manage the stop loss. Check ES. I like what I'm seeing here. I think these lows in ES are looking pretty obvious. Get rebalance, use that as a reclaimed bearish for about. So the fact that we actually are breaking through that quote bullish inversion for value gap, I think that's really good for lower prices. Also, if I pull up the 5 minute, I would want this inefficiency to be a breakaway gap on the 5-minute. So realistically, we should not take that high. If we do, just tip it just by a little bit. Just presented from last Friday, just got traded to, getting a reaction off that. I want to see a run on liquidity. I don't want to see this act as a discount array. I want this to be the discount array down here. And then this is liquidity to be taken. Oh, this is the start of the new hour as well. So it would make sense to see a small retracement higher once that new hourly candle opens. Immediate rebalance in the hourly is gone. Earlier I mentioned it was right around here, but because we traded lower before 11 o'clock, there is no immediate rebalance. That's a big red hourly candle with a wick. So I would like it to leave this high intact because that is part of a breakaway gap on the 5-minute chart. Really nice reaction there. I think if this low right here gets taken out, um, I think that would be a good time to tighten to $200 profit with the stop because I would want to see it accelerate down to these lows at that point. I feel like the stop loss could be in jeopardy if we trade above this high because I really want it to be a breakaway gap. Technically, it could tip the high a little bit, but then it would need to immediately go lower. Optimally, it doesn't take this high at all. It leaves relative equal highs right here on the 1-minute chart and then goes lower. So here very soon, I want it to start heading lower. Technically, it can tip the high, but preferably it'll leave it and just go lower. Check ES here. ES has made a pretty significant move lower. It's retraced a little bit. Same concept here in ES actually. It's into this order block. So I'd like to see price get really heavy again for a second leg lower. And the second leg lower should be really aggressive. It did leave that high intact just by a tick. I like how it's reaching into the new day opening gap for today, but all the bodies are closing away from it and below that monthly level. That is the range of June's midpoint is that purple line. So it's a monthly level there. spending a lot of time in this consolidation. I really want it to go lower very soon. It's the first body closing inside of this since we left it. All right, I want to see heaviness here. It needs to go really fast. I don't want it to continue chopping around in here. It came right back up again, so that high, yeah, that high's probably getting taken. So it needs to be very, very sensitive and very quick to come back down because we're above that high. There's a bearish S&T on ES there, so that's interesting. That technically it could trade to my stop. That would be permissible, technically. If it's going to be really weak and heavy and low resistance liquidity, it should not. It really shouldn't go to my stop, but technically it could. So because we're trading above that high, it's in jeopardy, but I think the odds are still in favor to go lower. This is that 5 minute inefficiency it's trading into. So it's a very large inefficiency. I'd want it to be breakaway gap, but my stop loss is right here. So it is permissible for it to trade at that high into it and then come back down. But preferably it's a breakaway gap, it's really, really weak, and it just goes a little bit in and then goes straight back down. So far, that's looking like that could still happen. And ES's equivalent high hasn't been taken, so that's good. That's great. I love seeing that red candle come in after tipping the high. That's really good. Now it needs to go really fast lower. Use this inefficiency to go lower. If this was truly an accumulation of shorts, the only logical place for them to offload all that liquidity would be below the lows down here, because that's where a lot of liquidity will be resting. These lows, and then obviously the equal lows over here. That's a nice close below that. Needs to use it to go lower now. Don't like that it's coming back up into this range. I really wanted to see it accelerate. We do have more stack liquidity now. Of course, if this body ends up closing down, then it's fine. Hmm. The end of macro. It's interesting. Stack lows here. That's nice. That's really nice. I was a little iffy on it trading up here, but because it really all that matters is the close. And that's a good close lower. And the bodies are staying inside of this inefficiency. Little close above the midpoint, but it stayed inside the high, and then we just came up and touched the midpoint there and immediately rejected off. I want to see, yep, that low taken, and I want to see really fast acceleration lower. I feel like I could go ahead and lock in that 200, but I want to wait just a second. Um, I will for sure tighten to that level when this low gets taken. But because this one got taken, I want to see it accelerate now. ES is being reluctant to press lower. I want to see this inefficiency left open. There's a 15-minute fair value gap, and the consequence encroachment is right where my horizontal line is resting. So right at that low, and we're snapping off. So slightly concerning. Stayed inside this. Hmm. Order block here. This wick. I really want to be patient because I could see those. Uh, I can see my full target getting hit here at that sell side, and that's a great profit. And I'm mitigated on the day. Got some profit locked in on this amazing entry. I want to just be patient. I don't want to strangle it too quickly. But also, at this point, I'm just not too sure exactly what it's going to do. I want to see it go lower quick, but because it's spending so much time here, it's like I'm just not entirely sure what to do. I don't know how likely it is to come up and trade to this level. I just don't know. Because I feel like it could stop in the order block here and then head lower. Yes, just tip this high. There's just some TN and Q. So I want this to be a turtle soup on ES. And I'd like in Q to leave this high intact. Leave this as a breaker on ES. That's not what I wanted to click. So I want this to, I guess it could wait for 11:30, because that would be the lunch macro. I want to see it get really heavy here because ES souped these highs. It could be that this is going to be the lunch macro draw. Maybe 11:20 we head lower and leave these highs intact. 11:20 we head lower, take the sell side, maybe low of day, depending on how heavy it wants to be. And then after 11:30, maybe it draws back up to these highs, maybe. Or it could have up until 11:30 to continue going lower, and 11:20 could start the move. ES looks obviously lower. Like it needs to start going fast here. I don't want this uh, last Friday's gap here. I don't want that to act as a discount. Uh, I don't want this to hold as an order block, so it needs to go pretty quick through that. I kind of want to tighten this lower down to right above this high because it shouldn't come up to there, and if it does, it's likely to stop me out up here anyway. Yeah, I'm just going to go to 824 and a half. It should leave this for now. And if it does come back up like that, like it's gonna stop me up here anyway, so I might as well take the extra profit if it comes up to there. Five-minute candle just opened. Now that it's doing this, I'm gonna lock in that 200. So I want to see it continue pressing through these lows. And if it comes up from here, whatever. It really should leave a gap open and just accelerate. Side right there. If it's going to be weak, I think it should respect this breaker, the midpoint of this here. Should not go above that. Should really just be super heavy at this point. Might get stopped out here. Unless it just heads lower immediately at 11:30. But if there's any sort of volatility and it spikes up, then that's probably going to be it for the trade. A body close above the midpoint, the breaker right there. So it really should just be heavy. Got just a tick away there from stopping out. It's pretty fortunate. It's happened twice now today. Actually, I think I annotated that wrong. I don't think that's the breaker. It should be the up closed candle, I think. Yeah, look at that. There you go. Two breakers. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be the up closed candle. Yes. It'd be great if the market just ran real quick uh, down to here. It'd be really good. Swept that low again. Stopped right at that minor sell side. Those two equal wicks there. I think if it were to actually break through Friday's first presented, it's really high odds that it goes to my full target. Um, that's why it's so difficult to get through this level because it's a balanced price range. They spend a lot of time in here on Friday. So if it can get through it and act as inversion, it's really high odds my full target gets met. That is the next milestone. Really want it to get aggressive in here to go take the low of day. And at that point, I would feel somewhat comfortable getting aggressive with my stop loss, but it really needs to start running through the low of day before I would tighten to there. ES took that low and swept it. Yeah, at this point, I think it's 50-50. It could come up and just work in here longer and stop me out and profit, or it could go ahead and just run the sell side. I'm not really too sure which one it's going to do. See, my stop is 788 and a quarter, and this high is 788. So it is actually one tick off from getting me out there. Okay, so that was the stop out in profit. Um, I'm up $123 on the day, so I mitigated the loss from this morning plus $120 profit. Made $200.04. Oh, I guess I lost 80 on that other trade. No, I didn't. Yeah, I lost 80, but I made $3 on the break even, so it was 70 when I looked at it. Um, I was considering just taking it off down here because it's not accelerating lower like it should be down here, so it makes a lot of sense for it to run higher, especially because it's after 11:30, and that's the lunch macro is going to go run the buy side here. it needed to go lower quick, and this swing low formed at 11:35. So I feel like I could have taken it early here, and that would have been fine because uh, if it's gonna go run for these lows at this time, then it needed to go lower quick right here. But because it was kind of meandering around 11:30 with the buy side up here, it makes sense that it would reverse right there. So but this is really, really hard trading conditions, and I ended up being able to short the high of day here. This was weird. This this loss was weird. Just the way that it filled me and the SWIC formed, and I just didn't really know what to do with that. So I got stopped on that first entry, but then I was able to just get back in at the high of day. So not horrible. I'm going to be done for now, and maybe I might trade the afternoon session. It just depends. Because really, the lunch macro is pretty well done already, taking the buy side here. So I don't know what it's going to do. I don't know. Maybe it runs for high of day. I don't know. So I'm just going to be done for now.